Well, a study commissioned by the Indiana Office of Tourism Development and conducted by Rockport Analytics shows that tourism remains the fastest growing job sector in Indiana, the 9th largest industry in the Hoosier state. In 2016, more than 79 million visitors fueled spending of more than $12.2 billion, both records. Now, for some perspective on how tourism can and really is being used as an economic development tool, let's turn now to national site selection firm KSM Location Advisor CEO Tim Cook and President Katie Culp for our Eye on Economic Development report. And welcome back for this segment.
Hi, Gary.
On a topic that really is, I think, emerging and growing in a big way around the state, and that's tourism and using it as an economic development tool. I just mentioned those numbers, which are staggering. So it's big business, but increasingly the state as a whole and communities and regions are really trying to leverage it for economic development.
And I think it really has two components to that. There is the direct impact, the financial impact of having an event or having an attraction that brings people in, spending money, sales tax revenue, all that stuff. And then there's the second impact, which is you're getting people into our state and communities, and they're getting exposure to areas that they might not otherwise go because we've given them a reason to do so. And what we all hear over and over again is that once someone's visited Indianapolis or wherever, that they're like, oh, wow, this is a really cool city. So I think it's got kind of a double whammy impact.
Yeah, let's talk about some specifics, because I think it's interesting how you can match up the tourism piece with specific sectors of the economy. Obviously, coming up the month of May, sports tourism is big business in the state. The month of May is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and as Katie touched on, you have the big events, and that's something that you can showcase. And then you're bringing people in from outside the state. It's a good opportunity for them to see the state. It's a good opportunity for the state and the local officials to show off what we've got here in central Indiana. And I think we always do a really good job every year of really exploiting that.
Yeah, and when you talk about kind of using these events as business attraction tools, the 500, for example, the amount of entertaining and hosting of businesses and others from out of town is a big piece of that.
Yeah, and again, as Katie mentioned, when people from outside of Indiana come and see Indianapolis live, it's a great experience for them, and to have the event of the 500 being something that can be showcased, I think just adds to that.
Yeah, I mean, people probably aren't going to start hitting Indiana as a spring break location,
right.
But we've got
not yet anyway.
Well,
right,
who knows? I mean, but we do have some great state parks and things.
Right.
But but to have an event that draws people in, and then, like you said, with the business entertainment, maybe they aren't going to spend their vacation here, but the next time they're expanding one of their manufacturing facilities or office, call centers, what have you, they'll think of our community.
Yep. Another segment of the economy that is big business in Indiana is agriculture, and agritourism is really becoming a big thing. The best example, or certainly one of the best, is Fair Oaks Farms in northwest Indiana, which is such a mega attraction now, and they've really taken that educational type destination and turned it into a real tourism destination.
Yeah, and what's so smart about it? It's a great example of how Indiana has approached tourism the right way by being pragmatic. So it's playing on its natural strengths, and agribusiness is certainly something we're well known for. But that place is phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I like their grilled cheese sandwiches.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's been public and private partnership and a huge success.
Yeah, and they've continued to put a lot of money into it, and it's because there's a lot of attraction for that area, and it's a great experience for not just adults, but it's a good family experience as well.
Yeah, you can't force it. It's like a evolution of market demand and meeting that demand.
That is a big example, and we had someone on the show earlier, and it's interesting to see these smaller communities engaging in this agritourism. Converse, Indiana is developing this reputation as a farm to fork type destination with multiple restaurants. Farms in the area are feeding that, and it's become a destination for that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to this idea of playing to your strengths. And if you've got an amenity that you can develop locally that's going to be a tourism attraction, I think that's a really smart approach.
Craft distilleries, or craft breweries, I should say, growing in a big way around the state. I think there were 30 or 40 a few years ago, well over 125 or 30 now. But as you look at the breweries, the wineries, and now distilleries, distilling in Indiana, that's become part of that piece.
Yeah, and you get two pieces to it. You have the people that visit them every day, but then in Indiana, if you look at like Sun King, and they have the Canvitational every year, up at Three Floyds, up in Munster, they have Dark Lord Day. Those are big attraction events where they're bringing people in, not just from the area, but from outside the state. And those are really good economic development engines for those local economies for a 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah, and how about these craft breweries? Because it seems to me, from an economic development standpoint, that many communities and downtowns and redeveloped areas, they're trying to get these breweries to be part of the vibe in their particular community.
Yeah, I mean, it's an economic development tool, but it's also a community development success because it's helping revitalize some of these downtown areas that were starting to become a little, obsolete. And, isn't it interesting that some type of agribusiness-related type of industry, I mean, it's so attractive to millennials. Who would have ever thought something kind of tied to a farm and that is going to be attractive to a younger workforce?
Well, when Katie and I meet with companies and they'll meet with cities, a lot of times cities will tout, we have a brewery now.
Yeah.
And it's part of the attraction that they try to put out in front of companies.
It makes sense because, sometimes we see every county in the state like wanting to put in a tech incubator, for example. And, sometimes I wonder if that makes a whole lot of sense because you may or may not have the natural inherent strength in that sector. But, I mean, everybody loves a good microbrew.
Absolutely, I agree with that. A great example, Radius, Indiana, in kind of south central Indiana, is really embracing tourism now and making that a strategy. So you're talking French Lick and the caves and caverns, lakes, the natural resources they have, saying, look, we've got these things, let's put money behind creating a destination, real strategy.
Yeah, and it's another good example of the private partnership opportunities. If you look at like French Lick and West Baden and what Bill and Gail Cook put into that from an investment standpoint and how they've really revitalized that area, that's been really exciting.
Yeah.
It certainly takes private sector investment and public, but what's cool about Radius, their involvement, is that you get a professional and some experts to help direct where you can get the most return on your dollars and your tourism investment. And with all respect to candle shops and that type of thing, sometimes without that type of professional leadership, you can get distracted. So I think it's great that they're so involved and kind of directing the ship.
Final word, does it seem like this is kind of in the early stages of growth? Do you see this picking up steam in terms of using tourism as an economic development tool?
Yeah, I think it's becoming a more robust use. I think it's a good use. I think it's important to keep it somewhat restrained. As Katie said, this is never going to be a spring break destination, but I think it can be used very effectively in the right way.
Yeah, we Hoosiers are pragmatic people, so I suspect that will continue.
Very good. Well, great take on tourism as an economic development tool. Tim Cook, Katie Culp, thanks very much from KSM Location Advisors, and I'll be right back after this.